Bonjour, mon ami, c'est Le Sergeant. And this has kind of been a topic that's been on my mind quite a bit lately, and that's the fact that whenever a new fighting game is released that the FGC highly anticipates or has a big following of, or what have you, what happens early on in the game's lifespan is that tiers are released. You know, a bunch of tiers, and what basically tiers are numerical opinions of people who think what characters are better in this matchup overall as opposed to the rest of the cast and everything. Tiers are charts in which, theoretically speaking, most tiers are like this. If any character were to fight any other character in 10 matches at the best of their abilities with everything at their use, that however many times those players of those characters win and lose are the defining ranking numbers for that. Now, most people kind of throw tiers together based upon, common sense of this is how the terms good, this is a really good matchup or this is a bad matchup come into play. But what really annoys me is whenever tiers are released when the game is not even 6 months old. And this has been the case with Ultra Street Fighter 4. It really pisses me off to see people release tiers for this game. I don't care if you are Japanese or not. That doesn't verify anything. I mean, sure, you may have been able to play the arcade version of the game in your country, but in the end, the console version was very different than the arcade version. And then the arcade version is going to be updated to the standards of what the console version is now. And from the way things are looking, everything may get changed again because of all the bugs that they did not filter out during the DLC release of this game. And, one of the first things I remember hearing about was Hugo. He's a bad character, he's at the bottom of the tiers, and blah, blah, blah. I remember when the first Street Fighter 4 came out, a lot of people were saying that the worst characters for the original arcade version of the game, other than Vega, was Viper. And why was this the case? And the reason why was because she was a character that not many people understood. She was actually pretty fucking complicated. And then once people began to crack into her, namely Urio, former Viper player, he kind of still plays her, but he mostly plays Sakura pretty efficiently. But once people began to see what Viper was capable of, then she rose up in the tiers. And even in Super, and what made it worse is that she didn't get any of her attributes nerfed at all until about 2012. Like, they were just little buffs here and there, and it's probably because there were so many things about Viper that they couldn't just nerf one thing here and there without truly understanding what this character was capable of as opposed to what advantages she has in the matchups, which is understandable. But it took time for people to have that opinion. And, I said the same thing about Hugo. Hugo is an instance of Viper where people don't quite understand what he's capable of. Yeah, but once they do, then you'll see some problems. Or at least him being a factor in matchups. And right now, I don't know what the tier listings are for any website or any magazine in particular. But the point is that I don't care because I think it's way too fucking silly to start announcing your tiers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You can announce little miniature tiers, but end all be all. I mean, you're making whole fucking charts, and you don't even play all these characters. And who were these people that you based these matchups off of? Were they the best player in your area, in the world? Does it matter? Apparently not. If anyone can make one of these damn tier lists, and it kind of really annoys me. To me, I don't think any tiers should really be taken into consideration until a fighting game is at least 6 months old. 6 months to a year at the most. Because by then, the game has been saturated into people's minds to have a complete understanding of what is being discussed and dissected on this level. I mean, sure, you can play games down to the numbers where, you're looking at frame data, trying to compose combos and frame traps and all of that. But if you haven't given yourself a chance to truly, fully understand the game, even if it is just a slight upgrade, over what has already been done, then that means that your opinion is moot. It doesn't mean anything, and it's silly to develop one now, at least not a concrete one. No one really knows who is the strongest character, who the weakest character, and the way the matchups are now, they're pretty even right now. I remember one of the first things I heard about being a really bad matchup, other than Guile and Bison, was Guy versus Rose, where Rose was a pretty bad matchup for Guy. But over the years, I've seen many Guy and Rose matches. I've even played the matches myself, and while I may not be the best player with either character in either matchup in either instance, in multiple other cases and scenarios, I didn't really agree with that. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, maybe something that I'm not quite understanding, but I think that the matchup is relatively fair. If anything, Guy kind of has an advantage, since he can kind of run stop pressure her and kind of frame trap her, but I mean, she's got the close forward. She's vulnerable to throws. Her throw range is further than most characters. She can car it, and then her pokes reach pretty far. I mean, I don't know, it's a relatively even matchup, in my opinion. But at least when I came up with that opinion, it wasn't when the game was new. It took, years for me to understand. I gave it a chance. And with Ultra, even though a lot of the characters that I play frequently got buffed, that doesn't make them the strongest. I think it's way too early to talking about who's top 5 or who's top 10. And it's sad to see people talk about how characters like DJ or Dead and Fei Long's unplayable, or Seth is impossible, it can no longer be played in the tournament scene, and Balrog's too weak, or Viper's not strong enough, or Bison's double knee press being -1 on block makes the character so ridiculously weak by comparison of what he got. It's fucking silly. It really is. Especially when you haven't even played with those characters long enough. Taking all those changes into consideration of the overall matchup now. You know what that means? That means that you can't look at the past matchups the same way you're going to look at this one. I mean, unless there were complete changes across the board, and there were. But if it doesn't change the character's playstyle that much, or it prevents them from doing what they did well beforehand, which, -1 as opposed to what, +0? No. I already knew it was a matter of time before people figured out that Bison wasn't as bad as he was being made out to be. And I'm glad that that's the case. I sure hope this continues to be the case with other characters as well. Because this game right now is pretty open-ended. We don't really know what each character is capable of. I mean, sure, we can play Theory Fighter and listen to long rants and look at the numbers and test out things, but as far as the matchup is concerned, and along with the system mechanics that are being taken in place into consideration, it's up in the air. Evil's coming up pretty soon, and no one really knows what the results may be. You can't just say Daigo or Takedo or some really good Japanese player might win it anymore. You can't do that, because Zien took it one year, and then Daigo didn't win it this year. That year, Infiltration won it another year. It's anybody's guess. So, with that be the case, why are we speaking about this game's tiers list when this game's not even old enough to even be discussed at that level? Or at least not on a concrete level. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Au revoir. Merci, mes amis. To much of my delight.